I think
Brandi,
I'm gonna go heavy. I'm gonna go, should I believe in God?
I believe in God is a
Yeah.
good one. And that is gonna look, that's gonna surprise Sarah. Okay.
Okay.
So I feel like the Kegling one, she would just be like, all right, let's go. I've been thinking about this
I
myself.
just got advice on that recently from
I
a professional.
just
So.
signed up for a Kegel class. Uh, she's in New York, so God only knows
Brandi,
what kind of like rooftop 7 a.m. Kegling fucking raves they're having. This is Advice from Strangers, the podcast where we ask people we've never met to solve our most intimate problems. I'm your host, Bridget Kimbrough. Let's do this. Welcome to the very first episode of Advice from Strangers, a podcast I've talked about a lot, threatened to do for a long time, and am now just pulling it out of my ass. But I'm not going to do it alone. Every week, there will be a rotation of guest hosts by my side. And this week, we're talking to Brandi Smith. Brandi, slide on up in this DM. Brandi.
hey, Bridget.
Hi.
Hey.
So, Brandi, the premise of this show is based on the idea that the universe is always trying to like give us clues or signals or try to help us in some way. But of course it's got to be a mystery. It can't just like come out and tell us. And I think one of the primary ways, and the only way that I paid any attention to, is sometimes through conversations with strangers. And so you are going to be my inaugural host because nobody talks to strangers more than Brandi Smith. So much to my eye roll, you do it all the time.
I do.
And I don't know if you do it for advice or why you do it. But that's essentially what we're going to do here. So we'll talk for a little bit, and then in a few minutes, we're going to bring in our guest, who I know, but you don't.
I don't.
So feel free to just talk to her like you would anybody at the Kroger.
Okay.
Brandi. Or the Athleta.
Or the Athleta, where I get my deepest advice. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with this. Brandi, you talk to strangers. Why? Brandi.
Honestly, it's probably
Brandi.
a surprising answer. But there are no strings attached when you talk to strangers. So I do feel like the exchange, even coming from myself, can be just whatever I'm feeling in the moment. Like, you know, with friends and stuff, I mean, even close friends, you talk, but then your friends they want to support you and help you and be there. And sometimes my personality, I like to deal with a lot of stuff on my own. Like, especially if it's deep stuff. I don't necessarily want the perspective from my friends or want them to know maybe yet, like, until I've digested it myself. So a stranger, I'm totally comfortable being 100% intimate and open with. And vice versa. Like, my whole life, people have opened up to me. Like, I have heard a million times, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just told you that. I've never told anyone that. So since I've been young, that's been happening to me. And so then I just started kind of also doing it back. So that's probably it. Like, mostly I do think it's interesting you get perspectives because they're not necessarily like-minded people like your friends. You gather people that you often have things in common with. And at the Kroger or wherever you are, or, you know, the mechanic, like, you'll get a totally different perspective that'll make you, you know, think outside your normal mind box.
Okay, so that is actually one of the tenets of like why it works, because I had to really think about it. When my mom was having health issues and I was flying back and forth from New York to Atlanta and just kind of like spiraling, like just going a mile a minute, right? So I never really had time to stop, and I learned to make big decisions very quickly, which was really good, but I never had time to gut check myself truly, right? So like big picture things, I didn't really ever know where I sat with him. And I had multiple times, like one of them, this is how fast it was. I was standing in line on the Delta concourse to like buy like a Twix or something. And the guy beside me started talking to us. Maybe he was the guy in front of me. So we had the amount of time it took for him to check out. And there were maybe like 3 people in front of him. I do not remember what we talked about, but like when he walked away, I almost started crying.
Yeah.
Cause he just was, it's like he just turned around and went, I know what you're thinking about. Let me just tell you, but we weren't talking about my mother. Like we weren't, you know what I mean? Like somehow he got it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it actually happened a lot in the airport. Like a woman sitting beside me, where like I never talked to the person beside me. And maybe you talk for like those couple of minutes before like the stewardess starts talking and then you shut it down.
Right.
Like she said some stuff to me. I've had it happen where I'm like, man, I feel like somebody was like, let's pause the Matrix algorithm and just, this person's going to say some stuff to you. Listen to them.
Yeah.
Listen to them. So that mixed with like I said, I'm not that person that likes talks to everybody. So I always kind of eye roll.
I gotta interrupt you because you told me that like what 15 years into our friendship, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
And then you were like, no, it's because when I'm with you, you talk to people. So I do, but I always thought you were just Sam. You're like, because you're so social.
Yeah, no, I don't. And I have another really good friend. She talks to everybody too. So it's just like, it's part of the package. But like, I know she's going to do it. And somehow I would always forget with you.
Because I have a resting bitch face.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
When I'm not feeling, I look angry.
But yes, I just went like, but you would, because you were talking to that person, you just missed the part where I was like, Jesus Christ, really? Okay, fine. Here we go. And sometimes it's really fast. And so I'd be like, no, this ain't going to stop. All right. And then at some point, so I would just jump in. Like you do subconsciously pick at people where I'm like happy for it. Lord knows I am not a fan of the general public, but you know, I do think most people are intelligent. I do think most people are like good. And you know, what the fuck? Why not? So to that, we're gonna, so I've got some topics.
Okay.
So we're gonna daddle. And let me pull them up. And then we're gonna pick a topic. And then this week's guest is a friend of mine, but a stranger to you. And we'll bring her in and we'll talk about it. Okay, are you ready? Is it time to lower my standards?
Ready.
Should I believe in God?
Ready.
Should I get a chemical peel?
Ready.
Is it too late to start Kegeling? And then how will I know when I'm happy?
Ready.
Oh my gosh, Bridget, I want to talk about all these.
Ready.
Okay, the one that like hits me I mean, honestly, a lot of them been on my mind, not the chemical pill, but other things to my face. But
ready.
I think I'm gonna go heavy. I'm gonna go, should I believe in God?
I believe in God is a good one. And that is that's gonna surprise Sarah. Okay. So I feel like the Kegeling one, she would just be like, all right, let's go. I've been thinking about this myself.
I just got advice on that recently from a professional.
I signed up for a Kegel class. She's in New York, so God only knows what kind of like rooftop 7 a.m. Kegeling fucking raves they're having. All right, let me text this girl. So many devices, so many ways.
Ready.
Hey! Oh my God.
But we're all wearing glasses.
Oh, we are.
Look, it's Glasses Corner.
Nice.
Sarah, I would like you to meet Brandi.
Hi, Brandi.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Brandi, Sarah. This is awesome. You guys should have met forever ago, but none of my peoples live in the same city.
Same.
So, you moved.
Yeah. I did move. That's why I have different peoples.
Yeah,
different
and I moved.
And then she
Oh,
moved.
we all moved.
It
Okay.
keeps- yeah.
No, there we go.
Everybody's shuffling.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, are you ready for your topic?
Yeah. What's the? Yes.
Brandi went deep.
Okay.
The topic is, should I believe in God?
Oh, girl, no. No. I mean, look. Look. Oh, I mean, that's my gut reaction. But
But wait, okay.
Yeah.
But can I ask you, when you hear God, what does that mean to you?
oh, that's a good question. Probably religion. Probably religion. Because the second thing I thought was, it unless you like community, you want to go to church for fun, you want to you move somewhere new, for example, and you want to meet new people that you think maybe aren't dangerous or something. I don't know. Not
I don't know. I got a cringe.
Yeah, but statistically, those people were crazy. If you watch enough true crime, you don't not to hang out with the people you go to church with. I don't know, what does God mean to you? Is that I guess that would answer that question. My instinct is to
My
say
question.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay, do we want to split it up? Do we want to do capital G God and then lower G God? So capital G God, right, is then chances are you don't get to like gays or
Right.
have the right to choose, right? Okay, so that's capital G.
Right. Organized
And then
religion.
lower G,
Yeah.
and then lower G is, and so here's something I know about the two of you is that we're all Southern women, right? So in the South, religion is it's lowercase g, where everybody goes to church because it's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you're a Christian. It doesn't mean that you talk about God. You know what I mean? It's just how you raise it. It's what you do. And so people get real comfortable believing in God, or every now and then bringing him into the picture.
Yeah.
But then totally just out there living a life in these streets, right? So let's talk about both. So I feel like you came in for capital G. What would you? What are your major takeaways for capital G, Sarah? What would you say?
I think you're right. That is I think capital G is organized religion, which has just damaged people their whole lives. I was lucky enough to so side note, when you were talking about the South and that's the community part that I was thinking of, and that's awesome. Go to the cookouts, go to the the fairs that are held on the church grounds and all the fun stuff. If you ceremonies, I mean, there's I had a friend in college who really loved the iconography of the Catholic. She wasn't even Catholic. She just loved all the
I was raised Catholic.
There you go. I don't even
think rejected it.
Yeah. Yeah. Catholicism has messed some people up,
Yeah.
But so I was lucky enough to have a really weird mom who was let's try everything. We did we went to all kind of things, and also I had family that was one side of my family was Catholic, like Brandi's, but they were just Catholic in name only. They just the fun part, and I don't even remember ever going to church with, other than my younger sister got really into it and Catholicism, and because she liked the community of it, and we went to her communion or something. But in 50 years, that was the one time, and I don't know. It's cool for that. The community is great and stuff. When you get into the all the upsettedness that it causes you, and just the pain and the anguish and the why God, imagining that it's a conscious being that's making these choices that affect you stuff, or when you're really reaching out and hoping, and then you're always going to be disappointed because there ain't no God, there's no God. Side note, that's when it becomes a problem. It's like an addiction, right? Like when it affects your everyday life, it becomes a problem, right? That's the problem part. If it's just a casual relationship that brings you happiness, awesome, you know? Like if you like playing shuffleboard, cool, go play shuffleboard. But if it's affecting how you relate to other people and move through the world and stuff, then you got a problem with shuffleboard, you know? Don't try to make me play shuffleboard, okay? You know, it's like that. I think for me, that's the difference. But in general, my experiences with like when people, as they grow older, they need something that's beyond what their experience that they can like believe in, and it brings people comfort, right? So if it brings you comfort, awesome. If it brings you, you know, joy and happiness, great. If it causes suffering, I say dump it, you know? Because if you really want to get deep into it, what God, why would you want to believe in a God that wants you to suffer, right? And your only reward is later, you know? Yeah. I mean, that sounds shitty, right? Like that guy's an asshole.
Right. Right. But I have a question. So you have then, because like I do, when I say God, I do speak of it like in a lowercase g, like not an, you know, and I agree with, definitely, of course, I think we're always looking for a connective and a lot of it goes back to, oh shit, I think I'm afraid to die. Okay. Yeah. Like I'm afraid to not exist, but you know.
Absolutely.
So then it's like, but I've never believed too that if a person dies, you exist, that your personality is your soul.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, well, if you're become schizophrenic at 21 and murder someone, why would you go to hell? That's messed up. Like, that's not, you know.
Yeah, because chemicals in your brain.
So in the like construct story of a God, right? Still capital G, Brandi, you don't believe in like a soul or a soul going anywhere.
I believe I am I don't do tarot cards, my sister does, but I am I definitely believe scientifically, like energy, everything, nothing ever stops.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, this doesn't, it becomes a different matter form. Like everything becomes a different matter form, however it breaks down, including us. But so then it's like the conscious state is that part of it too. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm super comfortable with the thought of reincarnation.
That's funny you say that. Yeah, I am too. That to me is the most comforting, you know, because and even if you like if I don't know a lot about the combination of religion and the belief in reincarnation. I don't know how those two really work together, but even if you believe that like you get a certain number of times and then you're done, like, and you don't know which one you're on this go around, you know, it's still comforting to me, I think, because if you get to the end and you're like, okay, you're done, you don't get another shot, those were all your shots, like it's still somehow comforting, you know.
Yeah, you got a lot of experiences.
Yeah. I don't know why it does. That's the one that does kind of correlate with exactly what you were describing, like the belief that or not even the science that we have right now. Yeah, that energy continues to go on. Energy, for lack of a better.
But so this is where I get really confused.
Yeah,
because I do also believe some people when they say they see ghosts.
Sure.
That blows my whole theory that like organized religion is incorrect, that like your grandmother dies and then she's up there and then you go and you see her and you hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it like throws me off.
Well, when if you grow up in like a split up household that has different religions all associated. So then you probably, even as a kid, you were probably like, well, this one says X, Y, and Z, but this one says, you know, WQR. So how are they both they're two sides of the same coin, and then you realize there's actually like 45 different sides, and they all contradict each other, and they're all supposed to be from the same book, or they're supposed to be, you know, some of them got totally different books, and it's all just made up. Yeah. For me, that's how it worked out over time. but also, I think, again, we're talking about different stuff. So as we were talking about it, I was think what it made me think was like how personal it all is, and then when you're in church, different churches, they always say like it's it's you and what you feel and think, your relationship, your experience, your feeling and stuff.
I told my dad passed a little over a year ago, and I told him, like, I guess probably within the 24, 48 hours, I was like, all right, Dad, because my mom had passed a couple years before that. I was like, okay, Dad. I was like, look, Mom sends Terry all these signals. Like, she's, and of course, my sister, I'm like, okay, you see a rainbow, you think it's Mom. You see a bird, you think it's Mom. That's great. That's like what you said. If that works for you, that's awesome. But so I was like, if you can send me a message that any of this stuff is real that people think, please send me a message. And my dad was super into York peppermint patties. Okay.
That is so specific.
It's very specific, and especially towards the end. And when I was cleaning out his house, there was like every third drawer I'd open, there'd be like an empty York peppermint patty wrapper, or,
Awesome.
and I was just like, okay, Dad, that's you had them all the time. So about a week after he passed, my sister and I were walking a friend back to their car after meeting up and having pizza. And we're standing there, and a York peppermint patty wrapper floated down from the sky like this, right in front of my face, and landed by my feet.
That's amazing.
And I looked up, and of course there was a little bird that had, and my father also was like huge nature, loved birds, like 10 million pictures of flowers and birds. And I was like, okay, Dad.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's amazing. That's awesome.
And right. And it's great. And it's like, you would think I would take, okay, this is great. That's a connection. That's some, but it messes me up more because it's still, I did so reject the traditional, like that there is that person exists in some way still as that person, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think for me, it's losing both of my parents recently, clearly, because then you can't suspend that. It's like, I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to fucking die. Like every day, it's like, oh, and then it's getting better as time goes. But it is like, wait, also too, they're in my heart. They're always going to be in my heart. But like, I think you do like to think you are still connecting.
It's funny, you keep saying the word connection, and that was the first thing I thought of when you asked that question. Is it like, should you believe in God? My first thought was like, no, because that's there's the made up stuff, but what it's really about is the connection, right? So it's like, I think you should believe in everything is connected. We're all connected, like, and you're explaining it through energy too, right? Like, we're all made of stardust. We're all the same, it all came from the same place, we're all cousins genetically, like it's all related. And I think that's beautiful. I think that what you're describing is like proof that there is connection. And I think that's something to believe in more than some stuff people made up. But what we do know is that we're all connected.
We're all connected, and
and your family proved that to you. They reminded you that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And the bird was your mom, and the rapper was your dad.
Exactly. You let her know. You said you'd let her know.
He's like, look, hey.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Very good. Okay, I think the advice is find your own God, like what you think it is, and for you, and if it brings you comfort, and in any time period of your life, allow yourself the grace and the there's no wrong answer to that. For you, don't let anybody tell you what to believe or what's right or what's wrong when it comes to your religion or your relationship with God. It's yours and that's it, you know?
I'm going to counter that. No, your God can't just be anything.
No, it's your
Because by anything, it could be like some dude. Look, there are cults.
Yeah.
Look, there are cults. I am gonna like bring that in a little bit. If your church is too big, a problem.
Yes.
You know, that church that like in the like when you're learning to read and they're like, this is a church, that's where you need to be going. That's where you need to be going. If it's like the size of 3 football fields, no. And if it's in somebody's living room or y'all are meeting up at the Starbucks, also no.
Yeah. If somebody else is like, hey, explain this to me, it's not making sense, and you get mad and you're like, you just have to talk to so and so and he'll explain it, or you just have to trust that something outside of yourself, then no. Never let the time you put into something keep you trapped in it, right? That's the sunk loss fallacy. People stick with something just because they've spent so much time, you know? Yeah. Don't let that trap you. Just never be afraid to walk away. Be like,
and that's the name of like, you don't need to like, because then you're never going to join anything, right? You just have to like, be like, I'm trying this out. And then when you're like, I know this is weird, beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say goodbye and thank you.
Hey, this was so fun.
To you both. This was so fun.
I love it.
Sarah,
thank you,
Brandi. I hope you connect again at some point.
Thanks, Sarah.
This helped me a lot.
Yeah, it was super beyond useful, but useful for me. But yeah, that actually helped me tie some things together. So thanks, Bridget. I think your podcast is going to be awesome.
This is going to work, you guys. All right. Thanks, you guys. I love you.
I love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been Advice from Strangers. This show is produced and edited by none other than Lalone Me. Our theme music is by Grace Mesa. Thank you to our very first co-host, Brandi, and guest supreme, Sarah. Brandi and Sarah had never met, never heard each other's names, or seen each other's faces before this recording. A shout out to all the strangers on the streets of Atlanta, but mostly thanks to you for listening. If you would like some advice or have a topic for us to cover, or just want to say hey, leave us a message at the link in the bio. And if you enjoyed the show, please follow us on Apple or Spotify and serve up that 5-star rating. Cheers to you for listening. I'm your host, Bridget Kimbrough. See you next week.